Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Rashod Davenport from Swab Magazine. I am joined with Obio, who is an advocate for the LGBTQ community, as well as Omar, who is an influencer and also recognizes himself as an advocate for the community as well. We're going to twist the conversation a little bit, still dealing with mental health, but now touching on aspects of the LGBTQ plus community and how those influences may or may not have an effect on mental health when it comes to our everyday lives. So to kind of get started, when did you guys know that you were a part of the community? How do you define yourselves first so we don't confuse anything?
So I would define myself as bisexual.
Okay.
So I like male and female. And I kind of like figured this out when late high school.
Late high school.
Yeah, and I would say only because it was kind of a battle in like middle school and like high school because of the, what the outside world thought about and like how it was portrayed, and people aren't as accepting or weren't as accepting back then as they are now. But once I felt comfortable enough and like felt good in my own skin and just was ready, it was when I was like, okay, this is it, and I could accept myself.
Okay. And you don't mind me asking, how old were you at that point?
I would say 18.
18 is when you were able to accept yourself.
18, I was 18, yeah.
All right.
I love that. It's funny, I was asking myself recently, like, did I find out that I was queer because of the absence of an attraction to women or the presence of an attraction to men? You know what I mean? Like, was I like young and like, I just don't like girls? Or was I young like, I really like guys? And I still don't have an answer yet, but praise God. But I knew I was different. Let's just go there. I knew I was different very, very young. I just knew that like there was a certain duality that I felt that was specific to me. You know what I mean? I feel like I just didn't have the same normal experiences as my friends had.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't really like land on a sexuality or an orientation like journey until like late middle school, when I was like time to like people and my body was, moving for different things and by society standards should have moved for. And I just battled with comfort through that, and then did my own journey of like accepting me for who I was. Thought I was bi for like a year or so. Realized that wasn't the vibes. You feel me?
Yeah.
And then we're just just regular old gay now.
Yeah.
So what point did you like fully accept that as well?
Oof, when did I fully accept it? I came out in 2019, so I was 26.
Okay.
I think I fully accepted it though. Probably like at 28, I would say.
Okay.
I was publicly saying I was gay, but I think there's a misconception that just saying you're gay means you're comfortable with it, and that it was still more to the pie, right? It wasn't just like saying I'm gay and now I'm cool. It was like I'm saying I'm gay, but I still had a fear. It was a conscious, courageous moment, right? It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gay. It was very like, Obio, deep breath, you're gay. You know what I mean? And I think I got fully comfortable in my skin at like 28.
Is that when you, like at those ages, is that when you told your parents?
No. I always knew like how my parents I grew up like with a Christian family.
Same.
So I knew how my parents felt about it, or like just the usual thought that, it seemed to be that Christians have about it. And so I came out to the public, and so I think my mom just kind of like already knew, we just didn't say nothing about it. Like I knew she knew, I knew she knew, but just like don't say nothing about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just keep it cool like it was. So, but I think with being bisexual, I think what you touched on a little bit earlier, like me actually liking females, and then also like realizing I kind of like men too. In that moment, that's why it was a little bit more confusing for me, because I'm like, wait, because I actually like them. But so it was like bisexual was still like kind of weird, and I'm like, is that really a thing? Like, but it is. So
Yeah. So I had that struggle. Like I grew up in church. I knew at maybe 7, 8. It wasn't a conversation until like 27, 28.
Yeah.
And like my mom was like the first person family wise that I had that conversation with. And I knew she would be cool with it. Like my whole life, I knew she would be fine because she's never had that kind of personality where it was an issue. My dad, complete opposite. Like that was the one where it was, if anything feels gay, you have to go fight somebody. So, needless to say, there were a lot of fights growing up.
Yeah.
A lot of like family, brother, cousin kind of situations. And so I got to a point where I realized like his opinion wasn't going to dictate my life.
Come on now.
And then
You want to shout a little bit.
I mean,
You want to have some
you kind of
already.
you get a little jump. But it was
Right.
it was figuring out what that is at that point, because if you, which I admire that you were able to figure this out at a younger age, because I think when you live so long in life one way, trying to redirect that is really hard.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, which is my question for you, because you hit that
Yeah.
that space. How do you not only redirect, but then redirect and become an advocate for other people?
Yeah, it's funny because I told my dad first before I told anybody that I was gay, because I was about to tell my best friend at the time. I was probably like 22 maybe, and I didn't use the word gay, of course. Well, not of course. I didn't use the word gay. I wasn't comfortable identifying yet, but I told him I like guys. I was about to tell my best friend, and in my mind, I don't know why I always had this conviction, but I felt like if I was a parent, it would break my heart to be the last person to know about my child.
Same.
And so I was like, if I'm going to tell anybody, it's going to be my dad first. So at the end of the day, you have to find out through the grapevine. I told you because I love you enough. So I told him. He didn't believe me for like 4 years. He thought I was just like doing something. I was bored, that kind of thing. And I feel like, to your point about it being ingrained in who we are, I have moments like that now, if I'm being honest with you, right? Where there's certain mannerisms I have that I remember I have this consciousness that says, don't do that.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself that it's okay to do it now.
Yeah.
You know, when you're young, your parents say, little stuff. Even when I'm getting dressed, like, guys don't wear this. It's like, what does that even mean anymore? I can wear what I
Right.
want to wear, but you have to give yourself
Yeah.
permission to do that. So it was a really long journey. And also, for being really, really candid, a journey of loss. Some
Yeah.
friends have to go. Some families, members need boundaries. Like, that just is
Correct.
what it is. It sounds cute to say that, oh, they all accepted me and loved me. When I came out publicly, I lost 90% of my friends. Like, uninvited to weddings, thrown out of group chats, all the things. That's y'all stuff to deal with. I'm going to still kind of have to go on my journey because I can't keep living my life based on what you got going on. You ain't paying a bill of mine. You're not pleasing me sexually. Like, what we doing? This is a joke. Like, I got to do my thing. And so I think for anybody who is in that space still, it's like, yeah, I get it, but freedom or confinement?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a mental health struggle that comes with that. That is drastic. One of my friends he came out a lot earlier than any of us. We were in high school, and his mom said, why are you choosing to be like this? And he was like, you think I choose to be bullied and have to fight all the time and be called names and walk around insecure? And it was just that understanding in that moment that there's so much weight that comes with just saying who you are, that many people don't feel like there's a choice in that, and if there was a choice, you more than likely wouldn't want to take it.
Yeah.
So did you have to deal with a lot of the mental aspect of coming out? Especially, I mean, you did it in high school. Like
So-
but there's like, I guess your high school, my high school were very,
Yeah, I came out on social media, and I had a large following. So me coming out, I lost a lot of friends, like that I thought were my real friends, and I still have some friends, but that treat me different. Like a lot of my straight friends, like you said, got kicked out of some of the like group chats or things like that. So with me coming out, it was like my strongest battle because I wanted these people to actually be here. I felt like they were my real friends and who I had with me and would support me. But like you said, like you gotta keep going on your own journey. And
do you feel like that was easier or harder, like taking the social media? Because it's like, I had to do it one person. That's
Yeah.
my mom. You just put yours out there to like thousands
yeah,
of people
I
at one
just
time.
I just threw it out on like so I was like it was just one day and I was like, okay, I just threw it out on social media. It was overwhelming, I would say. I think it's easier because that way everybody, if you see it, you've seen it. I can't help like whether you seen it or not. I didn't tell nobody specifically. Just if you've seen it, you've seen it. So for me, it was like, okay, then reading the comments, and it was really like most of the comments were love. It was support, and that kind of like shied away from the hate or the just people feeling negative or saying negative things because they're not gonna say it on social media nowadays. They're not. I mean, they will,
Okay.
but it's like some, you know.
It's not
most
as
people-
much.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
So I honestly think it's a little bit easier because I think most people are supportive online or when they're not face to face or have to show themselves. Personal opinion.
Look at it.
So-
Your experience. Go off.
Yeah.
Did yours come with trauma? Like, did your coming to, guess coming to self moment?
Yeah.
Did that come with that same trauma as well?
For sure. I think mental health is a necessary additive to the conversation because our mental is like at jeopardy for the majority of our lives because we grow up with no real affirmation.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, now they have it because it's on TV and stuff. But when I was growing up, you didn't have a character to identify with. You didn't have people to affirm you. You didn't even have language for some of the ways in which you felt. You know what I mean? And so, imagine growing up with no language to describe how you feel.
Yeah.
And so what that does to your anxiety, what that does to your mental, and I think which is why this new surge of therapy is such an important part because you need an advocate to talk to. You need somebody to like dump because friends don't get it, family members don't get it, people, and when they do accept you, it's more like toleration, and that toleration low key feels like a lack thereof of language because they don't have it. So even my dad, as good as he is, doesn't have language to speak to what I'm experiencing. So it's like, what does that do for me as a queer person who's trying to understand and organize my thoughts?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's been about telling everybody to shut up. If I'm being honest, like I'm gonna have to do my own thing, guys. I'm not really in the politics of how I should do anything. It's more just what I want to do. Even the masculinity, femininity conversation, right? Like I'm not really hell bent on either way. It's just what I feel like doing is what I do. That leans on a masculine scale. Let's work. If it doesn't, let's work. I'm not trying to appeal to straights or appeal to gays. I'm trying to appeal to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hard line that people have to figure out because you spend so much time trying to appease on both sides. It's like I'm trying to make sure that you all continue to accept me, but ironically trying to make sure that you all accept me as well, because if I don't do this thing, then that turns you off this way, but if I do that thing, it turns these people off that way. You're always like on this line of trying to figure out how to navigate society.
Yeah.
And the person who's like not winning is you.
No, it's a horrible feeling.
Like everybody else matters but you, which is so weird when you think about it.
And that was the thing. Like when I talked to my mom, it was a conversation. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, and I told myself the person I wanted to date, I was like, I can't date you and still hide myself. So I needed to talk to my mom. Talked to her. Her response was okay, and she said okay about 50 times. And then she was like, so tell me about them. And I was like, let me call you back. Because I was ready for it, but I wasn't ready for it. And the conversation went like, let's get into it.
I know that's right.
And I think that part was interesting for me, but it was very much I can't step into this life and this lifestyle and not be honest with myself. And I also don't want to have to, like you said, you find out from social media, because I feel like that's just like the biggest jab you can take.
Well, my biggest like mental overcoming was really my parents. Like I kind of, it's a weird feeling, but for me, I didn't really care too much what public thought or friends. I understood that already before I posted what I posted or came out. I knew there were going to be people that don't accept me and people that do. But when it comes to people like family, and I feel like that's like a really big thing nowadays. I feel like that was my biggest fear, was how's my grandma gonna feel? How's my mom gonna feel? How's my stepdad gonna feel?
Yeah.
And it's like cool to have acceptance from everyone else, but it was like that kind of acceptance means like the most.
Yeah.
And I think I'm speaking for a lot of people when I do say that. And my mom was not too accepting. So I think that was the biggest like thing for me. Like it was the biggest.
And I feel like that was my reassurance. And from what you're
Yes.
saying, like that was kind of your same situation with your dad. It's like that reassurance is there from a parent. So to not have that, like, where did your reassurance come from at that point?
So with that, it all broke like when I actually came out and introduced my mother to, like, you know, me being open about myself. It changed our relationship. She already knew beforehand because she had seen stuff in my phone before and
What was in
things
the
like
phone?
Things I don't want to talk about.
You wanna know
No.
what was in the
Okay,
post?
so it was just me having conversation with men.
Was it conversation?
Yes, and pictures.
Is that what they're calling it these days? Is it called conversation?
It was a picture.
But
We called it something else when I was young.
but it was mostly conversation though, and so she knew, but I would always like try and deny it or like kind of hide it because I wasn't out yet. But then when I officially like she would always say like to her friends all around me, I wouldn't care if he would just tell me. And then it was like when I actually told her and came around her, it was a whole switch up of her, like her aura just changed, like her demeanor towards me, the way she treated me. Like she would invite my brothers, I'm the oldest of three, she would invite my brothers on like vacation trips and pay for everything, and then me, oh yeah, you and your boyfriend come, but you got to pay for everything of yours, or you can come by yourself, but you got to find your way to get there, or it was so different. And she would like kind of act accepting, but her actions, or say she's accepting, but her actions would change, and it broke us apart. So
Do you at times wish you didn't have that conversation with her in the first place?
no, I'm glad I had that conversation with her, and I'm glad that I'm able to be myself. And like you said, you lose some people, and it's okay. You just gotta keep going on your journey and love yourself, and that came with me coming out, accepting myself. And if people are gonna love you, they're gonna love you. If they're not, they're not. That's their loss.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
mine. That's their loss. They're losing
Yeah.
out on a good person. So.
I know that's right.
Some people I was hoping go away anyway.
Yeah. So it was like
right.
cool.
Like, aren't you uncomfortable with gay people? I'm gay.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Okay.
Right.
Right.
But then they come back around sometimes
Hey.
without nobody else
No,
knowing.
it's a dub.
Yeah.
You made your bed. Sleep.
Right.
So, with now, like in today's society, with like everything being spoken on, you have Florida situations that don't say gay. Tennessee tried to run the no drag queen bill, which went to court and got canceled back out again. With all of that happening, especially as an advocate, where does it stand for you right now? Because now it just seems like there's so much heat coming back on the community, and a lot of it is unwarranted. How do you deal with today's society? My opinion, I ain't even going to Florida. So the man gets out of office, like I want nothing to do with Florida. Screw you and your tax money.
Yeah.
That's me though. But how do you navigate that now?
Yeah, I think for me as an advocate, I tend to step back and realize that the world is bigger than mine. You know what I mean? I think we get lost in our own version of the world. But again, people are in Florida who are queer, and what do, right? People who want to do drag in places where they feel afraid, what do, right? So I think my advocacy is really about the heart. Like, how do we change the hearts of people? Because I think that's where most of this stuff stems from, right? Like, how do we change the posture of how you look at humans? Because most of the stuff is a human thing. We talk about racism, we talk about prejudice, we talk about homophobia, transphobia, femphobia. All that stuff is about our hearts, essentially. How do we posture the hearts of people to say, listen, they're humans. This is not about this. I mean, it's political, right? Because especially we're black and queer, but like, it's not so much political as it is a human issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
we are people who want to exist in our freedom. Whether you agree or want to join me or not, that has nothing to do with what I should do. And I think humans in general have a really weird relationship with what I don't want to do shouldn't be done, right? And I may not want to wear a dress, but if you do, I think you might look cute. Well,
It's just not
I
happening.
don't
It's not happening.
maybe a little A-line situation, like a little halter, maybe.
Not
No, none of that. Okay,
Maybe a skirt.
a little skirt. I think a
skirt
skirt.
would be cute.
No.
I think you
Yeah.
can do a skirt, like a little slit.
No, that doesn't.
That's not it?
That doesn't associate.
That's not your thing.
No.
And that's fine if it's not, right?
And I'm okay with anyone who decides to
And,
do that.
and that's how we should live our lives.
Right.
And it becomes this really weird battle, and it shouldn't be.
And go ahead.
Okay, I think the biggest, like, I mean, just from what I've seen is like they try to hide it from, for example, the straights, or like they try to hide that our society from them because they feel uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, my opinion is like, it's kind of like, I understand both sides. Me personally, I feel like I understand both sides.
What part of their side do you get?
I understand both sides because I'll give you this example. Them like reading the it's like it was like a family book for kindergartners, and they had like LGBT like families in it, and it spoke about being gay or being lesbian, anything in that like, and I feel like, there are parents that are like, my child shouldn't be exposed to that because a lot of times they don't know yet. And that's just like an example to where I feel like I kind of understand because I feel like there's a lot of people don't know what they are. Just like I didn't know for the longest. I didn't know if I was bi. I didn't know if I was straight. I didn't know if I was pan. I didn't know what I was. And some people just are looking to not influence, to be influenced completely by society, because sometimes that influence can completely change a person, if that makes any sense.
So I want to kind of jump in on this. So I think that is interesting because I was watching a show yesterday and they were saying that a lot of the teenage suicides are because they're being exposed to the LGBTQ community at a young age, and then you start looking at research and it's saying basically if you allow that conversation to be present, it actually could prevent more suicides because it gives them a better understanding in their mental
Correct.
health where they
Correct.
can deal with it. I think that parents are the problem in kids and teenagers' lives when it comes to the community because the teenage and kids community, they understand each other.
Yeah.
And the parents are the ones with the problem and they bring that problem into the kids. So, advocate.
No, I disagree with the entire thing.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I think publicly
I think it
it
makes no
shouldn't be a
sense.
problem.
What makes
but
no
I think
sense?
Nothing y'all just said made any sense to me.
Let's
I feel like the influence conversation is so lazy in my opinion, just because I feel like I was influenced by straightness my entire life and I'm still as gay as June. And I feel like the idea that someone can be made gay is just not a real thing to me. And I think
that?
I'm saying the idea that if you show them characters in books and the kids can be confused by the fact they're seeing queerness so young, which is the premise for a lot of these things, right? Don't show drag to my child because they'll be confused. Don't show gay to my child because they'll be confused. But we saw straight our entire lives, and we were still gay.
Okay.
And so this idea that you can be made gay, you can be convinced into gay, you can be shown into gay, represented into gay, it's not a real thing. I think it's an orientation that comes from within. It's not like the two guys are kissing. Now I want to be two guys who kiss. I don't think that's how simple orientation is, just in my personal opinion and experience. And I think sometimes these conversations feel like I don't want my kid to see two guys kiss because I don't want them to be confused. But I think I grew up watching my parents, who are both heterosexual, kiss all day long, and I never wanted to do that.
So I think we're saying the same thing. So I'm saying that basically the parents have that mindset and the kids do not have that mindset.
Yes.
So the kids are fine. Parents think that
But are kids fine?
I think kids have adjusted a lot more to the LGBTQ community than their parents have.
When you say fine,
Yes.
what do you mean more? Maybe I need to listen more.
I mean, as far as like them dealing with each other, they're not as abrasive as their adult parents dealing with the children. So there may still be like hints of bullying, or may still be hints of whatever, but there's more advocacy within the school than there are from school boards and parents telling the school what their kids need to do.
I think that's
Right.
demographically relative, though. Like, I feel like in impoverished areas and urban areas, it's still gay is made to be a joke. They're still bullying people for being feminine. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's more of a geographical thing, in my opinion. Like, of course,
That's
like,
fair.
in like beautiful areas, sure. Like where Zaya Wade goes to school, I'm sure that she has a very beautiful experience. But in the hood, you still getting F-bombs and
Right,
you
right.
still, my sister's education and her students, she still deals with this, the bullying. Because I think on a topical level, we have language, but I think, and not to be macabre, but I think the generation before me, they gotta go. Like, just being honest. Like, it's just they gotta go. I'm being honest, because it's like I think we said the remnants of their like dogma and their homophobia that still permeates the space. And until they get up out of here, like I think art, like your generation.
Yeah,
wait,
it's
we're the
way
same
more-
generation,
we were-
right? We're close.
No, buddy, I got
Not
my
too much,
own,
not too-
but
Not too much.
I think so. Like we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
I think that, like you said, they grew up on their understanding and they're strong on that because that's what they
Yeah.
learned. That's what they grew up. Kind of like that's what they were influenced into. That's
You
what
wanna make
you
that
see.
point. You wanna make that point. Bad. He
Because
goes-
because it's true. Because it's true. I think like kids are innocent. They're all innocent. They don't have that mentality. So it's like your kids are easy to influence. You can give a kid a piece of candy and they won't even read the label. They're gonna take it.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it being public, but I think whenever you expose it specifically it's like it's very different because then the kids are like, oh, you know, what is that, and not knowing whether that's even something they want to do.
But that same argument, does it go for straightness though? Are you also equally uncomfortable with showing kids two straight people kissing? No.
You do have a very good point.
So we're cool with
So-
showing kids straight people, but we sometimes feel that we're going to confuse them by showing them gay people. Because we are still saying low key that being straight is okay,
That's right.
and being gay is probably not what you want to be. So we can shove straightness in your throat. What happened?
No, I'm processing
I
with
think
you.
it's- I think it's spirit going.
No, we going. We spinning right now. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think it becomes like a really interesting way to really get our own version of like what is good and bad. Out of even my too personal. But there are kids. Come on now, we're gonna get there. But there are kids. Even when I was still navigating shame at the time. But I remember seeing kids who would move in certain ways, and I would feel like this undying urge to like want to correct them for their own personal safety.
Yeah.
Like, hey bro, don't
Correct,
do this.
correct.
But in my mind, it's like nothing wrong with that. But I just in my mind, I'm projecting how you might be treated by people. So I'm like, hey bro, like pull your pants, I guess, or don't tie your shirt, you know. But it's like no, you should do your thing. But in my mind, again, maybe I gotta die too. I don't know. But like my generation just kind of sucks at advocating in those ways.
This
sometimes.
generation, I think, this generation is definitely like we're very open to it, and we're very like it'll grow up and it'll be just like racism. You know, I mean, it's still here today, but just like it improved as much as it did, I feel like as it grows, time goes.
So, because you're making a valid point, and it's as your parents and grandparents say, what you do behind closed doors is your business. When you step outside, you do it this way. So, again, mental health wise, we look at it and say, I have to now be two different people. And I have to walk outside with this mask on and then try to take that mask off and not even be judgmental towards myself when I get home. So when you're,
That's good.
Okay. So when you're dealing with two different personalities and they conflict, and they typically conflict in public when it's now you're being challenged on your gayness that's supposed to be at home with your straightness that's now outside.
Okay.
How do you deal with that when it happens publicly? And have you ever dealt with it publicly and then felt shame when you got back home?
You gonna have to go first, cause I'm over here thinking like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I've dealt with that for a very long time. I think I got to a point where I was done lying, right? But I was done lying. For my version of not lying was just omitting the truth, right? I'm not like lying. I'm just not telling you the truth,
Yeah.
right? And so it became where I would be out, and because of the way that I think I present, a lot of women would be attracted to me, right? And so instead of me saying I'm gay, I would just be like, oh, like, nah, like I'm saying, like, I got a girl. Even though, you know, boy, I ain't got no girl. You know what I'm saying? But in my mind, it was like, I got a girl, or me, in the very beginning, me still trying to be as ambiguous in my gender expression as possible, right? So that I looked neutral, so you didn't even assume I was queer, right? Like, even though I'm saying, like, I'm cool being gay, but in my head, I'm making sure that my life looks like you would never wonder if I was gay or not, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it was like, again, to your point, I'm doing that, but I have a boyfriend in private. My first boyfriend, I was in college, I had a boyfriend, my first one. And that experience was like so tough for me, because I'm like, I love this guy, I'm so into this guy, but in public with my frat brothers, I'm being one way, and then like towards women, I'm being this one way, and even we'll be in the same room acting like strangers. Like, he could be over there, I'm over here, and you wouldn't even know we knew each other. But then when we get back to our dorm, we sending text messages, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, you know,
Not
it's
the text messages.
the ones you got caught for. Yeah,
Why
like,
not know you were coming up before you when you said dorm? I said he's gonna run me out. I know he.
But I think for me, what also I think like challenged me was that relationship. It was like, okay, Obio, like, you can't even be in love for real because of how you're hiding, because of who you are. Let's start working on being in our freedom so we can find the opportunity I love. You have so many guys who are older who are amazing men, but spent so much time in shame. And now you're in your 40s trying to navigate what it means to get back to freedom. And it's so hard to unlearn all of these things, which is why we always, I know you probably get sick of it, but we're always so in awe that you're so young doing it. Because it's like, if I was 18 in my truth, I could have had a life, you know? But now I'm having to go back, that second adolescence, I have to go back to like, and not to be shameful because there's no shame at all, but like, you have guys who are still in clubs a lot. And you're like, boy, aren't you a little over that? But no, he didn't get to go to clubs when he was young.
Yeah.
Guys who are still like, sexually promiscuous. He didn't have that time in his 20s like you did. So it's like all these guys who are doing these things on the back end because of that shame.
Yeah, and it's not a good look.
It's not a good look.
Yeah.
Don't do that in your 40s.
Yeah.
I never like personally had to deal with. I think my personality has always been the same. I don't think I've ever like, I would get questions sometimes, but never ever like too much. It was never too much. My biggest struggle was like maybe with what I like when going out in the public, maybe with what I wear or my relationships. I'm a real like lover boy. So like if I'm out and I'm like, we're together, I want to be like lovey-dovey or touchy. But when I first had came out with my partner, I wanted to do it, but I was in the public and I'm like, I don't really, like it was a scary feeling.
It
'Cause,
makes
like,
you second guess
yes,
yourself
it's
on
like, what are the people around you thinking? What are the people around you gonna say? Like, it's just me like watching other, gay couples and the way people have looked at them, and,
Yeah.
and I'm over here like just acting straight before I came out. And I'm like, not saying anything, but just like, oh, okay, wow, and knowing that people would look at us in a different way because of our sexuality.
Yeah.
And so with that being on me, I'm in a relationship and I want to love on the person or show the same affection that a straight couple would show, but it definitely takes a toll, and it's hard because you want to really be yourself, and I had to really, it took a while for me to overcome that, but like it just like once I think what like really makes you like do it is when you love a person so much that it's like you just don't care. I think like it's just like whatever, like I don't care what no one else thinks, I don't care what no one else sees. And even now today I can be affectionate and all that in public, but it's still a certain extent that I haven't really been able to without mentally being like, what the fuck, like,
Yeah.
so
Is it that you stopped caring what other people thought, or that you became comfortable enough with yourself that you were willing to take the backlash from what someone else thought?
I'm willing to take the backlash. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care. Like, what do you, like you said, do you pay my bills? Do you come home with me at night? Do you like please me in any kind of way? No, you don't. So why does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole new generation. It's a whole new everything, and I mean, honestly, I think gay or queer is the new cool. It's gonna start to be. I really do think it is because it's so popular and people love it. People really do love it.
And I
They're
think-
starting to love it more.
I think that's where a lot of the resistance comes from, is because it's becoming so accepted that everyone feels like it's thrown in their faces. And it's not saying that you have to accept me, but you have to respect me. Like, you don't have to accept my life. That's fine. Like, there's stuff about you that I will not approve of, and
Right.
that's cool. But I still respect you enough to not have to have an argument with you about everything that you do all the
Correct.
time.
Sure.
So when you see that happening, and it's like there's a constant battle somewhere, somehow, that has something to do with one group of people, how do you then advocate towards the hearts of the people that you're talking to and say, just see them? Like, you don't have to accept it, but just acknowledge their presence and their existence.
Like that. Like that.
Just acknowledge them.
That
I mean, it's that simple. I think we try to make 2 + 2 this long equation. It's 4. It's always going to be 4. People are humans. They deserve respect. And no one's inviting you to accept them. No one's inviting you to their home to, like, break bread. You also get to choose who you want to hang out with. I don't like every single gay person I meet. We're not going to be friends, right? Like, you have the jurisdiction.
This is true.
You can decide who you want to be cool with.
This
And
is
it's
true.
that simple. I think we want to make this big, long soliloquy. It's not that. Like,
Yeah.
people are people. They deserve to be living in existence. And if you don't want to be around them, that is your prerogative.
Yeah.
Very
Peace.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tell people there's a double whammy of being black male gay. It's like you deal with the racism part on one side of the world,
Yeah.
and then you deal with the gay part on the other side of the world. But then they also intertwine on both sides. And black gay in the LGBT community is one problem in itself.
Yeah.
And then black gay in just the black community is another problem.
Yeah.
So how do you protect yourself mentally in both atmospheres? because they're, again, completely different kinds of mental protections that have to be put in place. You want to go first?
Oh yeah. Okay, I can't really speak on that because I've never grown up in a black community around the black side of my family. So I'm Puerto Rican and black. My father was never there. So growing up, I would say like high class with my grandparents. It was me, my mom, my grandparents. So I was raised in a white privileged community. Um, and I never really got to experience the black culture. So I was telling him like I can't even cook soul food. I can cook anything but soul food. But
No, there's black people
yeah,
that can cook
yeah.
soul
So
food.
I,
Let's not
I've-
get that twisted.
I've never been in the presence or been able to experience that kind of, that side of the, like
Culture.
yeah. I've never been. Yeah, I can't say like I had to protect myself from that culture because I've never really been around it. So
So much I want to dive into that conversation. I can't do it. We don't have time.
I know, right?
So
Yeah, I feel like the oppression Olympics is always like a slippery game to play. I think in the black community especially, like you're still black, right?
Yeah,
I think
yes,
we tend to be like,
definitely
well,
still
yeah,
black.
well, I was born with a single parent. I was in poverty. I had government cheese. We tend
Yeah.
to make the worst
Yeah.
of it the core of the black experience. And I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Yeah.
But to your point, navigating both is tough because even for me, I grew up in a very black area, and I think even now, to a certain degree, my blackness will precede my queerness often. You know what I mean? People will see me as a black man before they see me as a gay man. That's their personal experience of me. But I still don't let that supersede my experience of myself. I feel black every day. I feel gay every day. You know what I mean? And you're not going to tell me which one I need to lean into, which one is more important, which struggle is bigger. I'm leaning into my truth. And I think for anybody who's navigating, I'm black, I'm queer, I don't really know where those things intersect. I need to what community to fight for first. Do I march for the you know what I'm saying? It's Juneteenth. Do I hit the Juneteenth joint? Do I pride parade it? Like what do I do? And I think for me it's more about what feels good in your spirit, what feels good in your energy. And it's kind of going through that.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be as heavy. It's heavy, but it doesn't have to be as heavy as we make it.
And I think that was a conversation that I had with a circle of friends. It's like gay is a part of who I am. It doesn't identify me. And it took me a while to understand that. Like I don't have to write it on my forehead to like go in public, but it's a part of my existence. And as long as I'm comfortable with that within self, like it's not something that I have to parade and try to force you to accept me for. Like if you cool. If not,
Cool.
cool. We good.
So
I'm gonna go home and eat my popcorn.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, I've always, I can still see the outside world in like the black and queer community. And do you guys feel like, being a little bit more flamboyant or, feminine, does that affect the way that like, so being a gay black man versus a gay, more feminine and flamboyant black man, do you feel like that has an effect? Because I feel like it does. I think it changes people's view a lot more than just regular, oh yeah, like I like men but have more of a masculine tone to me.
I definitely agree.
I think that's a deep space, but absolutely. I think especially in the black community, I think the more feminine male you are, like the worse you may be treated.
Yeah.
When it comes to like males in the community, women. I think women not as much. I think women are more disappointed when they feel like they had a chance with someone than with someone they know they didn't have a chance with at all.
Correct.
So the reactions are different. Like I think most black women that I know had like gay hairdressers, and they were
Oh, yeah.
flamboyant gay men, and they were cool. It's the ones they didn't know about that bothers them. So it's like they feel like they were lied to. That's kind of my experience in that.
Yeah, I think people in large part have a tough time honoring people they don't want to have sex with. You know what I mean? And so I think people have a tough time like interacting with them almost. It's like you don't want to have sex with them, but it's okay. You know what I mean? And so it's like if you don't want to have sex with them, it's like you're mad at them almost. And I think, because even for me, I think most of the phobia, to be honest, is femphobia. I don't think people really care if you're gay or not. I think people care if they can feel like you're gay. Because even for my friends who are so homophobic, who are still cool with me, nothing shifted. But in your mind, you think it's because of how I behave, which is why you didn't shift your energy with me. But it's like, again, so were you mad that I'm gay or mad about how I present it?
Correct.
Because I'm still gay. I'm a gay man. But in your mind, you ain't got to interact with it, right? Even our families, it's like they may know you're gay. And it's cool as long as you show up like this. But you bring a man home, it's like, dang, now I got to see the gay. Like, you know, it becomes a different experience. So you don't mind that I'm gay because you know I'm gay. I'm here and I'm gay. But you mind feeling like I'm gay. You mind seeing that I'm gay. You mind it being confirmed. And likewise, the flamboyant men, it's like, y'all can be gay. Just don't be doing the most. It's like, well, then what are you mad about?
Right.
The femininity or the homophobia? I mean, or the homosexuality.
That's where my mom like. That's like right there. That's where, just when she seen it, boom. It's like,
Yeah.
ain't it?
Well, thank y'all for having this conversation. Because again, it doesn't happen often. There's not a lot of spaces for these kind of conversations to happen, and then tying it back into something that we're like passionate about, which is mental health. So thank y'all for taking part in this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah, it was fun dating with y'all. No. Yes. I was.
I know, I saw it. It was like,
Yeah.
it was like a little minute. Yeah.
I was not.
Sorry, bro. You go.
What's that?